Hello, guys. How are you guys doing today? Boy, oh boy, I'm having a beautiful day. I really am. I mean, not too hot. Beautiful sunshine, flowers, and another wonderful, beautiful summer day in Alabama. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Well, all is not well. I don't like to say that because ultimately all is well with me, and I am trusting with you, but we have trouble a brewing around the world in tremendous ways that we sometimes we're not completely aware of, and that's why we need to be aware, because this could affect our children and our family. It will affect them if we don't do something about it. And friends, I don't know if you will believe me, and that's not my business. That's not my business, the Lord told me. I mean, I feel that's what the Lord is saying. It's not my business. What is my business is to do what the Lord has asked me to do. And that is I received free, I must give free. The Lord has freely and by His grace taught me many things in life, as He has you, I am certain. Because all of His children He loves and He teaches. And we need each other, and we need to stick together, and we need to think about these things and encourage one another. And that's what this is about. This is not some kind of gloomy, negative video. This is a positive video, because with this knowledge, we will be able to do so many things and save so many people. And we can warn them because we know. Because we love them. And I have been assured that what the wicked one does not know, what the world does not know, they think they're about ready to win. Yay, victory's on their side. They're going to destroy us all. Guess what? They're in for a big surprise. The Lord has plans. We're going to overcome them by the word of our witnessing. That's how it's going to be done. We're going to testify to the truth. And the truth shall break free like a light beam coming down from the clouds. And all of a sudden, those clouds will dissipate because they just can't stop that light. It's going to be so beautiful. And that beam of light is going to be beaming down right onto the brow of all those who want to see and know the truth. This good news of the kingdom will be preached in all the world. And then the end will come. Remember, Jonah went to Nineveh and they repented. The Lord loves you all. He's not willing that any should perish. I guarantee it. He loves you so much you have no idea. He's not going to leave us comfortless. He's going to send the Holy Spirit. We're the light of the world. We're going to shine, and we're going to teach, and we're going to overcome the darkness of this world. The lies. We're going to educate the world. They're not being educated. They're being told lies. So we need to start right here, right now, and start telling the truth, being courageous and strong, and in our integrity, and start with the children in our own house, our family members. Be bold and proclaim it. I know at first a couple of us are going to be, laughed at and maybe considered crazy. Maybe they won't even want to talk to us. But guarantee it's coming now. It's going to be upon us. They're going to be understanding. Those who want to know will be begging to find out what the heck's going on. And we're His ambassadors. We're the light of the world, and we've got to tell them. We've got to be ready when they come to us, because they're going to need some comfort. And we're going to have to show them how we receive the truth. We're going to have to show them that it's through love. And by getting out of this world so we can see clearly, because the Lord is always talking to us, but most people aren't listening because they're too busy listening to the devil on their other shoulder. You got to say, get thee behind me. You've got to know the truth in order to be saved, because the truth will set you free. And this means eternal life, taking in knowledge of you, the only deity, and of the one whom you sent forth, which is Christ in you, the hope of glory. All right. Now, I'm going to show you some things that it's just going to blow your mind, but we've got to know this, and we're going to find then we're going to talk about what we can do, what the solution is. But we got to get the solution out. First, we got to know it. Then we got to get the solution out to our family and to our friends and to the world. So, we saw that video that I did yesterday about the raccoon dying. Well, we postulated that maybe there is poisons and genetically modified things and chemicals in the area. And I've determined that that is true. And somebody in the comments said, well, in New Zealand, they're spraying 1080. So I looked that up to find out just what this 1080 was. And that's where it started, and it went from there. So, basically, 1080 is some kind of chemical. We're going to find out what it is, and they're spraying it all over New Zealand. Well, they banned it in every other country, most places, so they say. I got to looking, and that's not true. It's everywhere, even in your water, and it's killing everything. So what is 1080 they're spraying over there in New Zealand? Let's take a look at that. Yeah. It's just killing the invasive species or something, you know, whatever they say. But then I found this little nugget here. It says, what if my dog eats 1080? Right here. And to answer that question, they say, if you know or suspect your dog has been exposed to a 1080 bait, poisoned carcass. Why do they call it poisoned when they say it's not poison? Or contaminated vomit, immediate action is needed. Take your dog to your nearest veterinarian as soon as possible. Do not wait until symptoms occur. So yeah, this 1080 they're dumping all over New Zealand will kill your dog. But hey, it's not a problem. Kill the cows, the deer. I'm sure it'll kill all the birds, the bugs. Is 1080 poisoning painful? They keep saying poisoning, but it's not harmful. No pain was reported in patients by Gadjusic and Luther. No pain. Oh, just put you to sleep and that's it. Right? You go into spasms and convulsions and then slowly die over several weeks, but it doesn't cause any pain. Symptoms of nervous distress are seen in dogs, cats, and man. But from reports from men who have recovered, no pain is felt. Huh. It's kind of like, you know, that raccoon we saw. It looked like it was kind of going into convulsions. And then it says, is 1080 poisonous to native animals? All these studies have found that there is no threat from 1080 poison to populations of these wildlife species. 1080 is toxic to all living species. Wait a minute. It says studies have found that there is no threat from poisoning of 1080. But then they say it's toxic to all living species, including microbes, plants, insects, birds, and humans. But they're still dumping it. Well, hey, that's a good question. Is 1080 toxic to humans? 1080 is toxic to all living species, including microbes, plants, insects, birds, and humans. One case of human exposure to 1080 in the form of a dust indicated that 1080 is likely to be highly toxic to humans by inhalation. But friends, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. We're just killing the rats. Those pesky rats and possums. We can't have that. You remember the other day when right where that raccoon is, where we saw the raccoon. Remember looking at the water in that area? Not out in the river area, but in the swampy area. And it was all covered with a green slime. Somebody in the comments said that's because the farmers and all their pesticides and sprays goes into the soil, and they say anywhere in areas like that, it goes into these little areas of still water, and it coats it, gives it that green slime coat. That's not natural. That's poison where that raccoon was living. So even if the government's not spreading poison theoretically on purpose to kill the animals everywhere in the world, no matter where you go. Farmers, agriculture are all using the Monsanto poisons, the chemicals, all over the world. I imagine they use it in Mexico, China, Russia, everywhere there's agriculture. I'll bet you they're using these chemical DuPont, Monsanto, all these companies that are making these poisons. And somehow or another, for I don't know how long now, 50 years, or 80 years, they've been telling us that these are just necessary, they don't harm us. But at the same time, of course, people say, yeah, the food's getting poisoned and we're dying. But they just keep dumping it on the food. Why? It's not necessary. You definitely wouldn't need to put poisons on the food. Oh, you'll hear the dogs wrestling in the background because I can't. Between the dogs and the trains going by, I have to stop every 5 seconds to talk, so I'll just talk over them. Ditto puppies, I don't think anybody will mind. But the thing of it is that no matter where you're at in the world, all this poison's everywhere, and it was on purpose. Is there an antidote for 1080? Death can occur within 2 to 12 hours after ingestion of the poison. Dogs can be saved if early action is taken, but there is no antidote for 1080. You hear this, guys? This is worse than Agent Orange, and they're spreading it all over the world. Now, they're probably calling it 1080 in New Zealand, but I guarantee any poison by another name is still a poison. And remember I was telling you about how in Texas they were dumping this, looked like Agent Orange. And when they just dump it out from an airplane. And after a few weeks, the entire area, the trees all die. I guess they're doing it, I don't know, theoretically people will say, oh, well, they're doing that so they can clear that area and make farmland. Well, how good is that farmland going to be if you've just dumped a bunch of poison and killed every living thing, even including the bugs, the rabbits, it kills everything. And this is going on thousands and thousands of acres across America. It wasn't just Texas where they were doing this. And like I say, if their argument is that they're trying to clear the land, that's not how you clear the land with a poison that kills everything. And then somehow you're going to grow human food there after you've killed all the animals with no regard for the deer and the antelope where they play. We have to come to grips with the fact that this is not agriculture. This is mass poisoning, mass destruction of all living things. They've been doing it for years, making everything sick. We can't go in the woods and eat the animals. We can't go fishing. The rivers are all contaminated. All the forests and the BLM lands are off limits to us anyway. They got rangers with bulletproof vests on. Somebody the other day said, oh, I know somebody, it's a ranger. They don't have bulletproof. Yes, they do. If you know somebody, then they lied to you. They're suiting them all up. Every forest ranger and everybody running around in the forest and wildlife refuges have bulletproof vests and guns and ammunition. It's militarization of every inch of this land. And I'm sure it's happening everywhere else in the world. So, I wrote in, is 1080 used by other names? And they didn't admit to it right away. But I went down here and it says, is 1080 used in the United States of America? And I clicked on that and it said, these toxic collars are the only legal way to kill an animal with poison then. Well, this isn't probably the only legal way, but, this particular poison, you can't find it any other way in the United States other than on a collar, where you just literally put it on a collar and put it around your pet, and it kills it. So, then it says, because it was banned in most countries, including the United States, where it was outlawed in the early 1970s because of civilian deaths. They're still using it in New Zealand, okay? and telling you right on Google that it's safe when it's used in context with, is it safe in New Zealand? But then the next line says, but in the United States, it'll kill everybody, even the humans, right? It's poison. Is it poison to humans? Yeah. Oh, but somehow it's fine. It only kills rats. This is so convoluted. It's insane. What's in 1080 bait? It's fluoride. Fluoroacetate. Are you getting that? It's sodium fluoroacetate. So, you know the fluoride they're putting in the water? This is the same thing. I know it's not exactly the same thing, but what they're not telling you is they're putting other chemicals like arsenic and sodium and other things in our water. So yeah, our water has this. Oh, heavenly salvation comes soon. Friends, let me show you something they don't want you to know. Fluorine Chemistry. Yeah, you see that fluoroacetate there? Acute human poisoning. It says the toxicities of elemental fluorine and the inorganic fluoride ion have long been known and studied in detail. Roholm, for example, listed almost 3,500 references in his classical review published in 1935. Systematic toxicological investigations of fluorine-containing organic compounds, however, are almost non-existent. The situation is due in large part to the newness of these materials as a class. Relatively little work was published prior to World War II. All right, well, we'll discuss why it was prior to World War II. So they know all about it now after World War II because the Nazis used it as a deadly toxin, poison. It's biological warfare. They were putting it in their water there, killing people, and they brought that over in Project Paperclip. They're doing it here. But anyway, blah-de-blah-de-blah-de. We'll read the, let's start down here a little further and get to the part that I want to show you. The most important organic fluorine compounds from a psychological viewpoint are the fluoroacetates, the fluorophosphates, the freons and other fluorocarbons, and the fluorine-containing steroids. So, a couple of things. You notice that they talk about freons. See, all this stuff, these chemical talk, whatever, we don't know anything about chemicals. We're just people. And they know. I mean, some scientists somewhere know, the people that are plotting this. We've heard about the freons that were killing the world. Remember, we had to get rid of freon. Remember that? We had to get rid of all the freon because it was killing the world. It was a hole in the ozone or something. We got rid of all the freon. Well, this is a fluorine compound. They're putting fluorine compounds in the water. And it's a pesticide. Fluoroacetate, which is a fluorine compound. In other words, it's fluorine in a compound with something else. Fluorine and something else, like sodium chloride. It's a compound, but it's still sodium and it's still chloride. So these fluorine compounds are killing the world. The freon was put there in the first place on purpose to destroy the world. But then somebody found out about it, like, guess we better take this stuff out of the air. Oh, but the stuff we put in the water, we'll just leave it in there. Right? It's the same as pesticides. We just won't tell anybody. Oh, we'll just say it's for tooth decay. Don't worry about the fact that it kills people, cancer and everything else. Right. So, are they really putting this in the water, guys? Let me see here. Let's check this out. We hear about this. This is really true. All right, so Mr. Goggle and the Goggle brothers say, starting in 1962, the United States Public Health Services recommended that public water supplies contain fluoride to help prevent tooth decay. So all the water in all the world's got to you got to add this now because we don't want people to get toothaches. Maybe you should stop making all this sugar and candy and putting it in all the food. That's what causes tooth decay. They're lying. Fluoride is now used in the public drinking water supplied to about 3 out of 4 Americans. I'll be darned. 3 out of 4. That's because some Americans live in the country and you have a well, I guess. But it says, does tap water contain fluorine? If you live in the United States, it is highly likely that the tap water you use, in other words, any city or municipal water department has it. If you live in the country or a community out in the woods or something, no, not necessarily. Even there, they might. But it is highly likely that the tap water you use is enriched with fluoride, a substance that helps prevent tooth decay. However, due to concerns that fluoridated water may increase the risk of other diseases, yeah, we don't want you to get toothache, but you know what? Cancer, that'd be fine. Heart disease, diabetes. Hey, we don't mind if you get all those diseases. We make a lot of money off of that. So, due to concerns that fluoridated water may increase the risk of other diseases, the capital city of Alaska stopped the practice. Also in Alaska, they don't do it, but all over the other rest of the United States, they still do it because they don't mind if you get diseases. The current enforceable drinking water standard for fluoride is 4 milligrams per liter. This is the maximum amount that is allowed in water from public water systems, also called the maximum containment level. All right, if it's so poisoned that we can't have any more than that, we'll all die. But just a little less than that, and we'll just die slowly, and nobody will even know. They'll just get cancer. We'll blame it on something else. Yep. Is it chlorine or fluorine in the tap water? Oh, probably both. Do they put fluoride in all the tap water? Yep. Is there fluoride in the bottled water? Today, the United States Food and Drug Administration issued its final rule for added fluoride levels in bottled water. That's 2022. That's where they finally made a rule. Wonder what the rule was before that. In beverages, bottled water. This final rule amends the allowable level for fluoride in domestically packaged and imported bottled water, to which fluoride is added to 0.7 milligrams per liter. Huh? So they have 0.7 milligrams per liter of this in all of your sodas and water bottles and Gatorades and everything that you buy. But notice that they put it in there. Now, if the reason, I always was told the reason why they put it in there is because they don't, somehow you know how when you're out camping and the water could be bad, it could be bacteria or something, so you put a drop of bleach and you can drink it. It decontaminates the water from bacteria or, some disease or something in the water. And that's what I was always told. Now they're saying, no, that's not why we do it. Well, why did they change their mind? Now they're saying it's for tooth decay. Well, probably because that wouldn't be a very good excuse for why they're putting it in the bottled water. Because we assume that they're putting good water that's not contaminated in the bottled water or in the bottles. So if they know that the water they're putting in the bottles is good, it doesn't have bacteria in it, bad bacteria, then they don't need to put a little drop of chlorine or something to make it so you could drink it, so you don't get sick. Sometimes they'll say, well, boil the water, then you won't get sick. But we don't want to boil the water every time we drink it out of the tap, so we'll just put a little fluoride in it. That's what I was taught. Back in the day, they changed their mind. Now it's because of the tooth decay. But you see, they prove that they're just filling this full of hot air and they're lying. It's a poison because now they're putting it in the bottled water. And listen, this was just in 2022 that they made this ruling they could only put that much. Maybe before that they were putting more, or perhaps they're putting more now. I don't know. They probably won't tell us what they're doing. They'll obfuscate, and we'll have to go and look for it. So, just to make sure that you caught that, organic fluorine compounds are fluorocetates. Fluorocetates. That's a pesticide. Freon, that was killing the world. They had to get rid of that out of the air. And so these things that are poisons and pesticides are just compounds of fluorine and something else. Fluorine is the poison, and that's the real poison. That's what makes the pesticide kill the animals, because it dehydrates the animal and causes an imbalance in the potassium-sodium levels. And this is what causes all diseases. If you have cancer, go and get some beet juice and drink that balanced potassium-sodium drink that will restore your potassium levels and cure you of all disease. And this is why people in some of these cities here in the United States, these children are dying from the water. Sometimes it gets so bad they actually go on the news and say, hey, don't drink the water. And quite a few cities like Detroit, places around the United States, you're not allowed to drink the water. And they say, well, it's because, I got poisoned. We don't know how. They're telling you. They put it in the water on purpose. They spend millions and millions, or billions of dollars making these water departments. It costs a lot of money to make them. And they're all just turning out poison? No, they do it on purpose. We saw that deal up there in, where was it? Was it Detroit or somewhere up in there where they're having Flint or something, where the water's poison? Well, months before that, they got together, the elite, and they literally did it on purpose. They contaminated the water, and they started buying up the water sources and springs in that area, and they're selling the people the water in bottles. But they had to poison the water to make you buy the water in the bottle. And listen, the plastic is leaching into the water too. And we don't know what they're putting in those. Some of these water companies tell you that they've taken all the natural minerals out of the water. It's distilled. And people are like, oh, yay, we want distilled water. We want purified, unnatural water that the government's made and claims it's safe. And then, now doggone it, we had to distill it and there's nothing left in it. So we'll put a little packet of stuff back in there. What do they put? Oh, fluoride and other things, chemicals. Don't drink their water. Well, where are we going to get water, Dave? You're going to have to go someplace in the middle of nowhere where these cities don't live, where there's no... I mean, after seeing what I saw the other day along that river with all the green slime and all the animals just sick looking, wandering around, flies, and I'm beginning to think that the reason we have so many flies, mosquitoes, and ticks is because they're putting them there and then making the environment such that it causes them to thrive. These poisons that they're putting all over the place, they're not killing the bugs like flies and maggots. They're not stopping the cancer. They're preventing life. 1080 EPA-NZ. 1080 is a common name for products containing the active ingredient sodium fluorocetate. So in other words, it's found everywhere in all of our drinking water. It's in your box cereal for your children. It's probably just, even if they don't even have to say they put it in your cereal for your kids, your baby milk, because they could just say, oh, it's got water in it. But what's in the water? Oh, that water we used? Oh, well, that was the water we created in the laboratory using kinds of poisons like arsenic and fluoride and sodium. Unnatural amounts of sodium will kill you. So they say that they don't use it in the United States, except for in these collars. So I looked this little article here up, the EPA, which should know. And notice at the top it says this United States Environmental Protection Agency. Prevention, Pesticides, and Toxic Substances. This is June of 1995. And under sodium fluorocetate, it says sodium fluorocetate is an acute toxicant predicide, which is used against coyotes, which prey on sheep and goats. Registered in-use products are injected into the rubber reservoirs of the livestock protection collars, referred to as the toxic collar, which are strapped to the throats of sheep or goats. Coyotes attempting to kill the collared livestock are likely to puncture the collar. So they put it on the sheep and the goats to kill the coyotes. Insane. And it doesn't harm the sheep? Oh, we don't care. We're not going to eat the sheep. We just want the wool. Right? So now if you go buy clothes made out of wool, you might have a skin irritant. It might literally, over the years, give you cancer. But they didn't study that one, did they? Oh my goodness. Look at this here, Channel 11 News. Growing concern, thousands of farmers across the United States damaged by dicamba drift that devastates crops. There is flourishing divide among farmers across the country, with the choice by some to use the powerful weed killer, creating devastating consequences for others. Use of chemical called dicamba has devastated crops it wasn't even sprayed on. Under certain conditions, the chemical has the ability to drift miles from where it's sprayed, creating massive problems on farms and coast to coast. While farmers who use it say it's vital to their livelihoods, complaints about dicamba damage continues stacking up nationwide, and there's growing concern about the Environmental Protection Agency's decision to continually reapprove the product. At first it was a mystery. Never seen anything like it, he said. The experts said environmentalists and even state officials all agreed the damage was likely caused by the dicamba, an herbicide that kills weeds and other weed killer. The other weed killers can't. It's been around for decades, but has been more widely used since 2016. When the EPA cleared the way for the dicamba to be sprayed. There's no difference between what's going on in New Zealand and right here in the United States. They have different chemicals with different names. They all do the same thing. They kill. Those crops have been genetically engineered to withstand the chemical, and many corn, cotton, and soy growers now rely on dicamba to control resistant weeds and threaten their yield. The problem is Flam doesn't use it and said he never has. Well, you know that stuff out there we showed you where I was walking, where the soy and the corn, it's all genetically modified. So that means that those crops, they've made them resistant. They knew exactly what they were doing. They knew this was going to kill everything. The stuff they were putting all over the world, the chemical, they knew it would kill everything and all the animals. But they made their crops resistant. And what are their crops used for? To make more, to make poison to feed your babies. It's in your baby milk. Yeah, the corn syrup, the corn syrup solids that's in your baby food, in your cereals, in everything you eat. McDonald's, all of this, they know it's killing you. The dicamba drift, a volatile chemical, travels miles away from where it's sprayed. Yeah, even in your home, in your town, in your village. All in the cities. All that smog in the air. They're spraying it on purpose. Chemicals. There are planes spraying it. I've seen it all up and down the agriculture. It's all over the world. Whether you're in Ukraine or United States or Russia or China or wherever you may be, Brazil, these Monsanto chemicals are being sprayed all over the air, drifting for miles, and you're breathing it. And this is why people have all these diseases. One of the reasons. And the experts say chemical particles can drift from the time the herbicide is applied up to hours or days later, if there are strong winds, high temperatures, or if there isn't wide enough buffer between the crops. Like I said, they spray it in one field and they don't stop spraying it when they go across the highway. So you see one of those crop dusters roll your windows up and don't put your air conditioning on or anything like that, or any outside vents. But I mean, if you're caught driving underneath of it, you got to think fast. Drive and get the heck out of there. If you see it ahead of you that they're doing it, don't drive on that road for days. If it's in your neighborhood, by your home, your farm, call the authorities and tell them stop this and put it on the news. This is terrible. Oh, but this isn't the same thing as what they're doing in New Zealand, Dave. That was outlawed and banned here in the United States, in most countries. Well, we're smart. We don't put very bad, evil chemicals like that on our crops. Well, what were they using it for in New Zealand? As a pesticide to get rid of rats and possums and different microbe things that they didn't like. Invasive species, right? That's a pesticide. Do we use pesticides here in America? Yeah. Any poison by another name is still poison. So look at what it says here. Why do we, the United States, spray? Farmers spray to mitigate crop damage caused by pests. That's why it's called a pesticide. A pest, that's why that thing fluoride or whatever it is, the side on the end means it's to kill the animals, but it's really just fluoride and sodium. Right? Which is what they're putting in our water, as we said. A pest is any biological organism, including weeds, pathogens, arthropods, that interferes with the production of crops, affecting quality and or yield. You know something? It just dawned on me. In Texas, where they spray this stuff, it kills whole forests of oaks and mesquite and all this area and that like that. And I was thinking, why do they do it? Maybe they're trying to kill the stuff and then they'll come back the next year and burn it out or something. But I never see them do that. They just kill it. And the trees may even come back out of it later. The leaves may actually come back out of it. I don't know if they ever really plan on wiping out that. It's like usually in the hills where they do it. So it's not where they're going to be farming. Why are they doing it? Because the invasive species is the natural oak trees and mesquite and everything that they don't want to grow and creep into their fields where they're planting fields. So they're just keeping it at bay, like all the forests and the animals and the trees and the deer and the rabbits. All that's a pest. They're all pests because they're creeping into their soybean crops and eating their soybeans and eating the corn. See? Which would probably weaken and kill them eventually anyway because they've got the pesticides right in the corn. So, I mean, this is probably one way that they do it. The animals come out and eat the food that they're growing in the field, and it kills them. Well, if it kills the animals, then wouldn't it kill us too? We're eating this stuff. Like I said, they put it in your baby food. Now, this is what I really want to show you. This is something that I've been working on, and I've done a couple of videos on this, and what we were saying the other day is that the reason for all death, I can't say all death. I mean, we're generalizing a bit, but, because you could fall in the hole, break your leg, and die of infection. People die many different ways, so we know that. We're not saying that this is the only way you can die. But what I am saying is I don't believe in old age. I believe we're being poisoned. I think from the moment Adam walked out of the garden, Yahweh started forcing him to eat processed foods, lachem, which is cooked food, and meat primarily. I've got a moment of peace. The train went by, and he's not blowing his horn, and the little puppies wore themselves out wrestling. So I'm going to try to speak here real quick in between. So I want to read you this. This is how I figure things out. Okay, the Holy Spirit gives me these impressions. I just feel like this flash of light goes off, and I have this knowing, and I understand that this is what it is. It's like this. It's like revelation, and everybody can do this. It comes from higher consciousness, and then when it hits you, you just know, but you don't put it into words. You have no words. It's telepathic. It's just knowing. Then to put it into words, you have to actually try to speak it. Sometimes you even have to look it up and make sure that there's some evidence for what you know already. So you look up and on Google or whatever and you find the evidence. Say, yep, that's what I thought. And there it is. And you find the evidence. The Lord will guide you to it. So the other day I was telling you, and I've been having this revelation. It's a growing revelation that okay, all of these diseases, whether it be cancer or heart disease or any, all the diseases, modern diabetes, all this stuff that everybody's dying of, it starts in the gut. And I've known that for a long time. But initially, and I think for a lot of people, they think it has something to do with the bacteria, the fauna. And somehow or another, your gut starts getting weak and inflamed, and you get leaky gut. And nobody really seems to exactly know why. Like 10 years ago, nobody knew, right? And then people have talked about it, but they're still focusing more on this probiotics and of course, eating right. We all know it has to be eating right. It's got to be one of the things. And of course, don't eat all the poisons. But what are all these poisons essentially doing? Well, they work together with other things that they do. Like, number one, they get us to eat partial foods, not whole foods. And one of the main things that's missing in our diet is the fiber. So we talked about that. The fiber keeps the moisture in the gut. But now, if you add real mineral water or spring water, well water, groundwater, creek water, absorbed up in that soluble fiber, that would hold that in your gut. It wouldn't be just water, H2O, but it would also be all the minerals from potassium, sodium chloride, all the way down to the trace minerals. This is the conduit of electricity or energy or life. You see it in the rivers. When the river dries up, the trees dry up. You have to have water for life. But it isn't just a matter of, like, for instance, you can have a drought, no water, and then it rains, and then that's not a good thing. Now the topsoil's ruined, and it just washes everything away. So there's a lot to this. But, so drinking gallons of just distilled water isn't going to help you. It makes it worse. Because that water is not alkaline. It doesn't have minerals. And you don't want the 7 or the 8, 9 alkalinity water either. That's not good for you. You need balanced, good, regular, natural water. You don't want any chemicals added to it. A lot of these stores are selling water that they distill it and then they put a package of something in it. They don't know what to put in there. They're not the Lord. Drink mineral water, regular well water. Anyway, moisture is the key. And so all these bacteria that's in your gut, they're just dried out. And when you get the moisture back in your gut, they come to life. Just like the fauna, the trees along the river. And the animals live and they're healthy. But when everything dies, then there's a fungus that starts coming in and taking over. That's the cancer. That's the maggots. That's killing the dead carcass. So I've been talking about this, and the Lord's been showing me the relationship our body is to like a battery. A battery has the nickel plate and the cadmium and the acid so that the flow of electricity go from one dissimilar metal to the other and store energy and be a flow of energy out. So you feed the battery with energy and then it stores it. Our body has to store energy too, receive it, and partake of the energy around us through our eyes. Yeah, light is energy. Our skin is like, in a sense, like the eye. It absorbs the D3, the sunshine. Air goes into our lungs through our mouth. Sounds, good vibrations, good vibrations, goes into your ear and helps you calm. Smells. This is why we have incense. All of our senses have to be put in a vibration that is healthy. This is why we use incense and have a nice music in the back. Not the modern stuff. That's not music. I mean a melody. Okay? People used to bang on drums or play the violin or a stringed instrument. A 10-string harp, the Bible says. We master the song. But those are things we have to have as well. But the most important thing, the most critical thing, is the literal food that we're putting in our gut. So, because you're contaminating your gut. Now, of course, that's not the most important thing. We could talk about what's defiling your heart, too. The lies and all of that. But we're not going to go into that quite that deep today. The physical body itself, we know they're harming our minds, right? But the physical body, what are they doing? What is the key? Why is everybody dying of cancer? It's the potassium chloride element to our health that no one is aware of. Your stomach has got to have a lining made from potassium, and your blood has got saline and sodium chloride in it, and it's mandatory that you have these chemicals. All foods that can be called a food has potassium, sodium chloride in the proper balance, which means all the minerals. Okay? So, take a look at this. What are they doing to kill mankind? What are they doing to kill us all? Why are we dying? Well, these insecticides, pesticides, chemicals are used to control insects by killing them. By killing them or preventing them from engaging in undesirable or destructive behaviors. They are classified based on their structure and mode of action. Many insecticides act upon the insect's nervous system, while others act as growth regulators or endotoxins. This is affecting us too. Most act on neurons by causing a sodium-potassium imbalance. Do you see that? That's the mode of action that most of these pesticides and insecticides and poisons that they're spraying everywhere, the way they kill, because your body could take and heal whatever they do. So they've got to destroy it right in the gut, the source of your life. They got to take the living energy right out of your system and dry you up and kill you. In other words, it's like as simple as choking a person out so they don't have enough air and they just die. Your body, if not choked out, if your body is just walking around eating natural foods, you'll live and be healthy. You got to do something literally, drastically, physically to your body to kill it. And what they do is they do something that you don't know it's in the air, you don't know it's in your food, you're eating it, it's going into your, just like the little mice. Unsuspecting, they don't know that they're eating poison. And neither do we, we're just cattle. And it acts primarily on, most of them act on neurons by causing a sodium-potassium imbalance. It just dries you up. There's too much sodium. Remember we said sodium, fluoroacetate or something? So fluoride and sodium act as something to preserve or to dry up the water, to remove the moisture. That's how you make jerky. So all of our foods have sodium, 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 sodium. And they don't have the right kind of sodium. It's all imbalanced anyway. Fluoride, chlorine, all of these things that we find, arsenic, this is what's killing us, and this is how. By drying us up. So, no potassium, but too much of the sodium, chloride, fluoride. And that is what pesticides really are. It's that simple. It's poison. What is poison? Just chemicals. So, the potassium-sodium balance gives you life, like a battery. The cadmium, the nickel, and then the flow between in the water or the acid water. Not an alkaline water. It has to be a bit acidic. That's why blood in certain parts of your body has this sodium content. But the rest of your body's got to be alkaline. When you go to the restroom and you go in, you pee, that's called uric acid. It's the most acidic part. Your body takes in all the potassium, but in that area of the gut, it's going to be very acidic. But when it gets too acidic, it starts drying you out and it starts turning yellow. Your pee turns yellow. That yellow color means that you're dehydrated. And that's what all these chemicals are doing, is dehydrating you by getting in between the potassium sodium chloride balance. And they can use other poisons, but that's the easiest one because animals love sodium. So one of these natural ways that people say you could get rid of your mice in your house is you go and you get baking soda. They add some sugar to it so that it tastes good. And the mice come and eat that and then they die. This is what pesticides is. Take salt, put it on your grass, and the grass will die. On the other hand, you put potassium, potash, alkali, calcium, sulfur, phosphorus, nitrogen on your soil, and it grows. That's fertilizer. But you put too much salt or fluoride and it all dies. That's what they're doing, friends. The potassium-sodium balance. And I want to talk a lot more about that in coming videos about my investigation into this potassium-sodium imbalance and how we can fix it. I will say this. Go get you some beet juice. Either go buy beets and juice them, or you can go online and get beet root powder and just put a tablespoon in some water every day and drink that. That'll restore your potassium sodium chloride balance. And within weeks, you'll be feeling like you're a young person again. I mean, it just gives you energy, youth. Old age is not a thing. It's a lie. Yahweh said you'll die, but he couldn't kill us. Right? He couldn't kill us. So what did he do? He started poisoning us. Took years to kill Adam and Eve. Told them to eat food that's processed and meat and cook it. That means instead of eating the whole plant, the whole food, natural and raw with the bacteria and the seed therein, you know, with the bacteria on it and the mycelium in the soil. Instead, he said, I want you to go and do agriculture and till the soil and process the food and burn it and cook it and make chemicals. And so the devil's been doing this for thousands of years. They're perfecting it now with Monsanto, Cargill, DuPont. These chemicals are in everything. And the way these chemicals work is they dry you out, dehydrate you at the cellular level in your gut. You get leaky gut and you begin to die. And here's the thing. If you're in that stage of life where you've got cancer, the simplest thing in the world to cure yourself is to stop all poisons immediately and start taking your beet juice or some way to restore that potassium chloride sodium balance. And the best thing that I know of at the moment is beet juice. It has an amazing amount of potassium and nitrogen, phosphorus and sulfur and all of these minerals that we need. I haven't done a whole lot of research to find if there's something that we could do is easier or better, but there's not much you could do that would be easier than beet juice or cheaper. And it works wonders. But I'll keep you posted if there's something that you could even... I know that spirulina has a lot of these minerals and stuff, but, you know, for right now, I'm advocating for the beet juice. I think it's amazing. And everybody should do that for a month or so. Go buy a pound of it, and take a tablespoon, put it in the water every day and drink it for a couple of months or something to restore your health. It'll cure you of everything, I guarantee it. But it says some act on the GABA. See that GABA, these little GABA receptors. A lot of them, those are in your brain. We can't even think straight. We were walking around in stupors. You get people that are violent, killing one another. Why? Oh, people are evil. We need to put them in prison. Put them on some more medications. No, they're already on too many chemicals. The human nature is not evil. They're killing us. They're torturing us. And then poisoning us. Like they're doing the animals. You know how we watch that raccoon suffer and we just couldn't hardly stand it? They love it. That gets them off. They're evil. They're torturing and killing us all. And they're very happy about it. But I wanted to show you how these poisons really do work and what the real crux of the matter is, the sodium-potassium imbalance. So, yeah, there's a lot of bad news, but we can't change that. All we can do is learn that it's there, know what it is, and tell everybody the good news. That's not the good news that there's bad things in the world. The good news is that we are the ones in charge. We can fix this. We've got to get the world to understand why all these bad things are happening. The liar, the deceiver is running the world. We've got to be the light of the world. The truth will set us free. We've got to teach the truth. We've got to tell the good news. You got to tell everybody. That's your job. You must have integrity. You must take back your country, your world. Now, I'm not saying there's going to be a political salvation here. We're not going to save America. We're going to save the Constitution, which is divinely inspired. But that applies to everyone. It's our divine right to live in peace with liberty and justice for all. And that was a divinely inspired document. But the United States, capital letters, this thing we got going here is this capitalism thing. That is not of the Lord. And Trump's a capitalist. We cannot save this evil, wicked world of greed. The only thing we can do is go forth and tell people about the good news of Jesus Christ and his coming kingdom. You say, oh, it's some pie in the sky. No, it's right there. The word is upon your lips. And if you are able to understand that what you speak will come to pass, what you believe, it shall be unto you as you believe, according to thy faith. All things are possible. We've got to teach people the good news, the truth, that we're in control. There is good news, friends. We're in control. And even though the children don't understand, we're the parents, we're the adults here. The firstborns in Christ. We're in charge. And if you don't want to go and tell people this good news, or you don't want to open your eyes just a crack to take a little looky-see, and if perhaps there is a solution, then you're part of the problem. This is the problem. This is why we're in this situation. Because you fathers and you mothers did nothing. And you let the enemy come and take our children. We all made mistakes. The past is the past. It's all right. It's no problem. We were just children. We didn't know any better. But now we do. See, here's what I have learned. Let's say you got a room. And it's all full of light. You can see everywhere from one end to the other. It's all light. And somebody's got a little box of darkness. Just a little bitty box of darkness. And they enter into the room. And they say, I'm going to open up this box and let this darkness out. Guess what? It won't do a bit of good. The light overcomes that darkness so easily, it's no problem. But now, on the other hand, let's say you got a room full of darkness. There is no light in there, and you can't see anywhere. Nothing. No dark, no light. But you got one little candle burning inside a little box. And you come in there with that little candle and you open the box. Now you can see from one end of the room to the other. May not be real bright, but you can see that light makes a big difference. Now, if we all shine our lights, if we all, the Lord's not going to just leave us in the situation. He's promised us to give us the truth. We haven't been looking for the truth. We've been mesmerized by the devil, by the liars. We go to their churches and just go, oh, this is great. Oh, they tell us they have to, we got to call them father and reverend and rabbi. Jesus said, don't do that. We knew better, right? But we just keep, the school's teaching our children bad things, but we just keep sending them there. Doctors are killing us, but we just keep going there and taking their pharma. It's our fault. Now listen, we've got the truth. And the truth is not only going to set us free, but the entire world free. And this is the answer. We've reached maturity. Jesus said, when I return, will I find faith on earth? All he's got to do is find a little faith. Because the faith the size of a mustard seed grows up into an entire plant. And all the birds of the field and all the animals come and partake of its shade and its bounty. Friends, we, the anointed Christians, those who sit and pray and wait upon the Lord in peace for His Holy Spirit, who reject the lies, who get out of the world, we're the ones that's going to receive His Holy Spirit and go forth from that point. Playing on our 10-string harp, we're going to master that song. We're going to sing the song of the Lamb. We're going to harmonize all these vibrations. We're going to partake of the fruit of the land. We're going to love one another. We're going to show people that it can be done. It is the way it works. It's just that we have let down our guard. We've been deceived. Friends, I've been shown that this is how it will be done. Through the 144,000, through those who are Christians, who simply believe, who simply go in and get out of the world and pray and search and seek and knock and receive the free gift, which is free. And He's knocking, He's waiting. If anybody would open the door, all we got to do is open, a few of us. Where 2 or 3 are gathered together in His name, He said, He promised us He'd be there in the midst of us. And He says, you shall be witnesses of me all over the world, in all nations. And the good news of the kingdom will be preached in all the world, to all nations. When Jonah went to Nineveh, they repented. Nineveh represents where the 10 lost tribes went. Jesus said, I send you only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Those lost 10 tribes, which were in Nineveh. And then He sent Jonah up there. Remember what Jesus said, you'll only receive this one sign, the sign of Jonah, who was in the belly of the whale for 3 days and 3 nights. What was the sign of Jonah? We've got to go through a dark night, but guess what? In the end, we're going to repent. We're going to wake up. We're going to see the truth. We're going to accept it. When we see it, we will. The Lord has faith in us. He says we'll do greater works than He did. He says, now go forth and tell the world the Father loves you. The Divine Mother loves you. I love you. Now go love each other. I will not leave you abandoned. I will be with you unto the end of the age. Not one hair of your heads will be harmed. They'll take you before kings and rulers for my name's sake, but not one hair of your head will be harmed. And it will turn out for you a witness. And whoever is endured to the end will be saved, delivered from the wrath to come. And that's it. That's good news. All you got to do is want the Lord. All you got to do is have love. And John says this is how we know if we have love. We see somebody hungry, we feed them. They're naked, we clothe them. But if you don't do that, you say you have love, you're a liar. And the truth is not in you. That's all we've got to do, friends. Now go out there and tell people the good news and let's fix this. We'll see you guys tomorrow. May the Lord bless you. Have a good one.